Hello everyone, and welcome to this UniField tutorial video where we will be focusing on the purchase order follow-up tools and the field order follow-up tools that are available in UniField. And specifically, we want to look at how these tools can help the users follow up orders in the scenario of project orders to coordination, so your field orders from the project to coordination. Also, how the mission can follow up the purchase orders from the mission to MSF supply, and finally, how either at project level or coordination level you can follow up your purchase orders to external suppliers. And so we'll focus on the two main reports that extract this information and allow you to have the best overview of these type of orders. So now I would like to switch over to UniField and we'll demonstrate the first report. So the first report I want to look at is the report that helps us follow up orders from the project to coordination. So these would be, a project would create a purchase order, and via the synchronization, the coordination would have a field order. So as you can see in this instance, I am in the coordination instance, 101 database. So that means if I'm in coordination, I have received a field order from the project. And in order to do the follow-up on these orders, I would start in the orders application. And then on the left side, in the modules menu, I would go to what we call the field order follow-up per client. When you click on this option, it's going to open a new pop-up window in the screen, and it's going to have different filtering and parameters that you can select to reduce the Excel export to the information that's more interesting to you at a specific time. So one of the best ways I find to use this report is by selecting the partner that you're interested in following up. So in this instance, we're in coordination and I want to follow up with the project. So I will enter the project name, there it is, and let's say I want the global overview of all field orders for this partner. And so that means I'm not worried about the date range and I'm not worried about the status of the document. I want to see everything. So in that case, I would choose the partner and then I would go down, and I prefer to work in Excel instead of PDF, so I'm going to extract this to Excel. Now, depending on how much data you have in your database, if you extract the global overview without using any date filters, that can be quite a lot of data after you've used UniField for 1 or 2 years. So you'll have this report generation bar that will tell you when it's complete, and then it has a button below that for downloading the report. So I'll click on this, and you'll see the report now launches in Excel at the bottom, and I'll click on the Excel, and it should open. Now once the report opens, you'll look at the Excel file that looks like this. It'll have the header information. It'll tell you this is the database that created the report, so it's in coordination. And this is a report based on the project. So we want to see all the field orders for the client that is project 112. There is no date filter, so these remain blank. So then I would come down to this line, and generally I think it's best practice to add some filters, and that'll allow you to filter and aggregate the data as you wish based on the needs. So let's see what's contained in this report. The first column, you have the order reference number. So it's pretty clear. That's the field order number from UniField. The customer reference number, that's the purchase order number at the project. So here you see purchase order 78. That's the PO number from project 112 that created field order 21 in coordination. This PO reference would be if coordination sources this to an external supplier, it would show the coordination PO. So if you get a field order from the project and you need to buy that on your local market at coordination, then the field order the purchase order, that supports that purchase would be indicated here. as well as the supplier. And just to give you an example of what that would look like, I'll look through my filters and I'll see that some of these have purchase orders. So I'll take out the blanks, and now I can see that, for example, field order number 20 for the project PO number 70 was sourced to a coordination purchase order to the supplier Roshan Enterprises. And so once the sourcing decision is made at coordination, it fills in the report so that you start to have more visibility on this information. Now, if I continue to look at the different information, the next column has the document status, and this is the status of the document, so not the line, which is indicated in the next column. You have the line status. The receive date, this is the date that the field order was received in coordination, so the date that it's synchronized to coordination. And the requested delivery date is the date that comes up from the project that indicates when they would like these items delivered. Now I'll scroll to the right. And now starting in column J, you have the code, then the description, and then here you have the quantity ordered in column L. And then the quantity delivered. And then importantly in column Q, it indicates the quantity that is still remaining to be delivered, or the back order. And then once these items are shipped, it'll have the transport document indicated here, the shipment, and the confirmed delivery date and the ETA. And the reason these aren't showing that information yet is because these, in the database, these items haven't finished the shipping process. Now, one thing I'd like to show you is how this report displays the quantity delivered, the back orders, and the lines that are closed. And to do that, I'm going to reduce this report, which, since we extracted the global view, is currently at 1,316 lines. To make that easier to read and for us to review, I'm going to reduce that to just one field order. So we're going to look at field order number 23. And in this case, the customer reference is still blank. It does not have the purchase order that is linked to this field order in the project. And that's because this order has been created at coordination as what we call a pushed field order. And at this time, it has not synchronized. So at the next synchronization, it will create the project PO that matches this field order, and then that information would be displayed here. And because this field order was sourced to stock, there's no need for a coordination purchase order or a supplier. So then these columns would remain blank in this scenario. And you can see that the sourcing is completed, so the document is confirmed, and some of the lines have already been closed. So it's confirmed, partially closed. So now we see that we have 5 line items. Line item 1, 2, there's line 3 appears to have been split, and then line 4 and 5. So let's take a closer look at that. So the way this report displays the back orders is you'll have column L, which will be the quantity ordered. Let me expand these for us. All right. And so you'll see line 1, item 1, quantity ordered 10, quantity delivered 10. It was delivered on the packing list 50-3, and quantity to deliver is 0. So there's no back order for line 1, which is why it was closed. And the shipping document is shipment 41 dash, let's see what that is, -1. And then the estimated arrival date and the ready to ship date are taken from the dates on the shipment, when it's processed, and the expected delivery dates. So then what happens when you have a back order? So now let's look at line 3. So it's the alcohol-based hand rub, and the ordered quantity you can see here was 20. And then there's still quantity to deliver of 8. So when this happens, when there's a partial delivery, which creates a back order, it splits the line, and it has the line, it'll have the first line, which indicates what was originally ordered and how much is pending, the back order. And then the new line for the same item will show the quantity delivered, 12. And the quantity delivered is indicated here, and which shipment that went on, or which packing list, sorry. And of this 12 is fully delivered, and it was on shipment 41. So that's what's important to note. So when you're filtering, you can filter if you want to see only the back orders, then you can remove your zeros. Or if you want to see, if you only want to see items that are delivered, then you could come to the quantity delivered and filter out the not applicable. And so I won't go through all the different scenarios, but I think you can see how this report you can extract from UniField, and then once you have the Excel file, you can start to use it to analyze what items are still pending, what's been delivered. You can manipulate the Excel file as needed to get the different information. So now let's go back to UniField. I want to show you a few more points, a few more ways you can use this report. So I'm going to close that. Again, I'm over here at the follow-up per client, and I will open a new pop-up. And this time I'm going to say I only want to see the reports for March. So I'm going to say, instead of taking the global overview, I'm going to look at March 1st to March 31st. And again, I will take partner 112. And if you wanted, you can filter only showing the orders by status, so only the draft filled orders, the closed filled orders, validated, etc. And please note that this indicates the document status of the order, not the line status. So if you were to say, show me the draft filled orders, it would, if I was to tick this and export, then it would say only export field orders to the project 112 from March 1st to March 31st. And finally, one other option you can use on the filters is if I clear my filters, so I'll start over. If you know a specific field order you want to follow, like for instance you have a monthly replenishment order from the project to coordination, a central stock strategy perhaps, you can enter a specific order number. In this case, we're only looking at field orders, so I'm going to disregard the internal request and select field order 21. And if I extract this report, it's going to only extract that field order. So this option can be a good way to follow up on specific orders that you know, or if you get questions from the medical team or the supply co, etc. So once it's available, I'll click download report. And once the report downloads, I'll click yes on this, and then it opens. And so now I see that if I add my filters here, I can look here and I see that I only have lines for field order 21, which in this example was the monthly replenishment order, the monthly medical replenishment order from the project to coordination. And here you can see the project purchase order number, and because this came from stock, there's no need for a purchase order or a supplier at the coordination level, the line status, etc. And again, I can see if I was to look, this order is for 380 lines, And maybe I'm interested in which items have been delivered already. So I would come to the quantity delivered, and I would say, show me, disregard the not applicable. And I can see that so far in this example, 2 items of this order have been delivered to the project on the packing list 13. For these items, the quantity to deliver is 0, and the shipment information and shipment date information is here. So this report, the field order follow-up per client report, really is the best option if you're in coordination to follow up with your field orders to the projects. Of course, you can also follow up with field orders that are for donations to other clients, or if you're at the project level and you have donations to other MSF sections or MOH, World Health Organization, etc. If you've created a field order in your database, then this is the report you can use to follow up on the status of that field order. So now, let's look at the other side. Let's look at the report that allows us to follow up our purchase orders. So for that, I'll go back to the home page, and I will go to the Purchases application. And over here on the left, I'm going to open the module for reporting. And here I see an option called Purchase Order Follow-up per Supplier. And when I launch this, it is going to open up a page with a bunch of different filter options. And it looks very similar to the previous report we looked at. And it functions basically the same way, but more obviously with a focus on the purchase order. Now, if we look at the different filter options, you obviously have the option to filter on a specific purchase order. So if you want to follow up on one order, for example, to MSF supply or to specific supplier, you can simply come and search for the purchase order number here. And if you were to select it, for example, it would appear on the report, and you would get the follow-up report for just that order. You also have the date range. So in the first example, I'm going to extract the report for March. First to 31st. And I want to see the global overview. If I wanted, I could say only draft, only validated, etc. Or down here, I could say, show me only the pending order lines. Now what this will do, if I was to tick this box, it shows me any line on a purchase order that is on a validated PO or a confirmed PO that has not been received. So it's validated or confirmed, but not received yet. So first, I'm going to extract this report just for the March all purchase orders global overview for March. And again, you get this window that pops up and lets you know the progress, and once it's 100%, you can download the report. And it's the traditional process of opening Excel. And once this report opens, it will look like this. So you'll have, it's basically the same, most of the same information from the previous report, a little bit of a different format. But one of the key differences is that this report focuses only on purchase orders and the reception, if it's been received yet on an incoming shipment. So it does not display if the items have been shipped and delivered to the final client. So let's take a look at what this report contains. Your purchase order number, the supplier, which type of order it was, whether it's regular, a donation, priority, direct purchase order, the line item number, and then the information about the product. And then starting in column G, you'll get information on the quantities. So the quantity ordered, so far we haven't received any. The quantity received in this column. If there's been a reception, it'll indicate here in the incoming reference, and then here will indicate the quantity back ordered. So because we haven't received any, the back order quantity matches the quantity ordered at this point. And then it has the price per unit in the local currency. And if we continue, it'll have the date that the purchase order is created, the delivery requested date from the IR or the FO, the delivery confirmed date, and then finally the PO status at the line level, and then the status at the document level. And then here it will show you the customer, which in this case for the project is for the coordination, the customer reference, and the source document, so an IR. So just like before, I like to put the filters in at the header level, and then now using these filters you can do several things. You can say I only want to see purchase orders to, let's say, one specific supplier. In this case we just have one PO with one line, and then we could look and we'd see that we ordered 5, we received 5, we received it on incoming shipment number 10. Obviously there's no back order, the price, and the document status, and in this case the customer was the project, so we know that this was to be delivered ultimately to the project, and their purchase order number is indicated here and the field order number is indicated here. So depending on whether this purchase order supports the project or is to support the coordination client, you'll have different reference numbers. Also, you could say, for instance, let's filter only on items that are in back order. So I would remove the 0. And now I see only lines that have a back order. So one additional thing I want to show you on this report is if you do a partial reception for a line item, so you have one line item and you receive some of the quantity but not all of it, I want to show you how this report displays that information. And to illustrate that, I am going to select a purchase order that I know has a partial reception, PO 57. And then I'm going to scroll over to the quantity. So this is PO 57 to the same supplier for oxygen cylinders. In this case, the quantity ordered was 150, and on incoming shipment number 30, we received 120. So that's going to, we have a back order of 120 because the original quantity was 150. And then on incoming shipment 31, 30 quantity were received, and 150 minus 30 equals the back order quantity of 120. So you'll notice that when there's a partial reception, the report will create a new line with the same line number, same code, same description, and process the reception, the partial reception on that line, indicate the reception number, and then it will leave the back order on the original line until the full line is closed. So if you did another partial reception, it would have another line here to indicate that, and then this original line would only close once the last quantity had been received. And you can see it indicates all of the data information, the line status, and the document number, reference numbers follow through on both the original line and the partial reception line. Okay, let's go back to UniField now and take a last look at the report, and just to discuss a few more functionalities, and then that will conclude today's video. So again, we were in purchases, and then you come down to the module reporting and you open purchase order follow-up per supplier. Now that you've seen this report, I want to just illustrate a few ways that you might be able to use this report specifically to support you in some of the main suppliers you have. So one option is, let's say you're in the project, you're the project supply officer, and you would like to follow up on all of your POs that you have sourced to coordination. In that case, you would simply choose the supplier for coordination, 101. And then if you were to run this report now, click Excel report, it would extract all purchase orders you have sourced to coordination. Of course, you can reduce that by selecting the dates, or you can indicate a specific PO number here, or a date range here and here. Another option you have is if you are in coordination and you want to follow up on all of your open orders to MSF Supply. In that case, you could type MSF Supply in the supplier, and if you extracted this report, it would show you only the POs to MSF Supply. And again, you can combine that with date filters or pending order lines only, and that would show you, again, like I mentioned, only lines that are on a validated or confirmed PO that have not been received. So that's just another way you can use this report to help follow up your orders. And again, if you want to follow up to a specific local external supplier, you could type the supplier name here. Or of course, if you're not sure, you can load the supplier database from using the looking glass and browse through your suppliers until you see the one that you're interested in. And like with most reports in UniField, if you want to extract a global view, then you can leave all the filters blank and click Export Excel, and it will take all the purchase orders for the entire database to the Excel, regardless of status, date, or supplier, and then you can filter inside Excel for the information you're looking for. But just be aware that if you do this, if your database is quite large, then it can take some time to generate this report because it takes every purchase order by line item. So you can have thousands and thousands of lines, and that could be quite time consuming to extract from the database. But it is an option if you're interested in that. So in conclusion, you can use these two follow-up reports, the PO follow-up per supplier and the field order follow-up per client, along with the internal request follow-up per location report. And that report is detailed in video number 4 that's on the YouTube channel as well. And if you want more information to support what was discussed in this video, you can go to your UniField user library on your USB key. And if you go to the UniField manual in Chapter 2 and open Chapter 4, the procurement section, when you open that, you can simply use Control F and search for the term follow-up. And when you click on Next, it'll take you first to how to follow up an internal request. You can go to page 20. Next, it takes you to how to follow up field orders. And finally, how to follow up purchase orders. So you have more information in the manual to support this video. And as always, you're welcome to send me an email with any further questions. So feel free to reach out and contact me if you need more information on how to use these reports. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.